And I would argue with you that the feminist movement is what started all of this. Because, see, if the feminist movement never came to pass, you would never have the homosexual movement. You would never have the feminist movement didn't come to pass. You'd never have the women's rights movement. If the women's rights movement never came to pass, you would never have the homosexual movement. The homosexual movement brought on the transgender movement. When you leave Romans chapter 1, that's the blueprint for the destruction of society. When you leave God's way, there is no more right and wrong. Because, see, J.K. Rowling can't tell you why it's wrong. Not in essence, she can't. Right? She can't tell you why it's absolutely wrong. I can. I can tell you because in the beginning, God made them male and female. And God has a role for a man, and he has a role for a woman. And when the roles of male and female are followed properly, children turn out well, generally speaking. They turn out well. Do you understand that? When society shifted from the traditional roles of male and female, this is the only possible outcome. That's why families, churches need to return to a biblical order. What does that mean? Women got to stop acting butch. They got to put their dresses and their skirts back on. Husbands got to lead. They got to wear the breeches in the family. They got to love their wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. They got to lead their families. We need to return to biblical feminism, biblical masculinity. That's what needs to happen. Instead of women walking around like female men and men walking around like male females. That our children know the differences. They don't have the answers. J.K. Rowling doesn't have the answer. She just knows it's atrocious what they've done. She's right. It is. But their definition of what a woman is male light. That's the definition of a woman. The definition of a woman to J.K. Rowling is identical rights with a man. That's the definition of a woman. That's not God's definition, right? That's not God's definition. That's the world's. God's definition of a woman is one with a meek and a quiet spirit. One that is submissive to her own husband, that the word of God be not blasphemed. A keeper at home. See, that part's not popular. We can pick on the trannies. But we can't tell J.K. Rowling, why don't you take your britches off and dress like a woman? By the way, this is what causes women to get mad at me because I say things like that. And then they want to defend their britches wearing, they want to defend their male clothes. But they'll get mad at They'll get mad at the transgenders. Well, you started it first, lady. You put the britches on and dress like a man first. What are you mad at those men for? Because now they're dressing like a woman. That makes people mad when you say things like that. That'll make people not come to your church, not support your ministry. I don't care. God supports it. God's blessed me. God's taking care of me. God's met my needs. Amen. People don't like that part of it because the remedy and the answer is a return to biblical order. They don't want that. They want to keep their sin and point a finger at these people like that. Well, if J.K. Rowling was a biblical female, she'd have a lot stronger of an argument, I think. Right? But you'll have so many people making excuses of why they can't obey God, especially women. But just remember one thing. If you're not willing to give your britches up, you ain't no different than those women in the 60s that were burning their bras talking about free love. You're exactly the same. You might mask it a little different way, but you're exactly the same. But you know something? That's not popular. This is what I'm talking about. That there's no more fighting fundamentalists like that. I thank God for a feminine wife and daughters and a church. When I go there and those women are feminine. They don't run around looking like a bunch of men and acting like a bunch of men. They walk around and they conduct themselves as women, as ladies, as godly biblical ladies. And you can't imagine, you just have no idea how absolutely refreshing that is and how encouraging that is. You have no idea. But it's not popular. Oh, you're taking it too far. No, I'm not. I'm taking it right back to the scriptures where men are men and women are women. And they make those distinctions clear. They're not worried about kowtowing down to the world and what their rights are. They're more concerned with obeying the Lord and being a godly, feminine example to other ladies and to their children and to their daughters. Amen. See, I'm not the world. I'm not going to defend things like J.K. Rowling does. She doesn't have the answer. Is she right about this? Yeah. But her conclusions are wrong. Right? Why do these children, these girls, or these boys, how much gender confusion? How much gender confusion is out there because they're raised without understanding the proper roles of the sexes in the first place? Right? They don't know the difference. They don't know what it means to be a young man or a young woman. They don't know. because they weren't raised by a godly mother or a godly father. So how much confusion comes from that? They go to school and it's confusion. They go to the church and there's no distinction. In their homes, there's no distinction. Well, you wonder why they're like that? Really? I don't. There's nothing clear. Nothing is clear to them. Everything is blurred. So if not for yourself and to be right with God, why wouldn't a lady and a man want to be dressed the right way, walk the right way, talk the right way, have their hearts surrendered to God so they can say, you know what? I don't want to be a part of the confusion. I don't want to be a part of the confusion of the age. I want to be clear. I don't want to be a part of the confusion. Makes you wonder why more ladies wouldn't be like that. Look, when I see pastors' wives dressing like the world and horrible, I'm just like, I can't even believe that. Like, what chance do they have? Do the children have? What chance do any of them have? And that church have when there's no godly example of femininity? It's really sad. And older women have a responsibility to teach younger women. Older in the faith as well, to teach younger women. Where's that done? In the local New Testament church? Being an example. I'm telling you, it's so not popular. But God just showed me years ago, you just let her wail. Just open up your mouth. Open wide your mouth and you preach. You open it up and you tell them. Lift up your voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgressions. Because it's necessary. It's needed. And this subject of transgenderism, it always comes back to the proper roles. It always comes back to there. Why? Because that is the answer. I had a young man contact me last night. Man, he made me feel old. He messaged me at like midnight, and he said, I talked to you years ago, before I went to the military. He said, I'm having a problem with my wife. He said, I'm home all day taking care of my child. I feed him, clothe him, take care of him, do all these things. And I'm tired. I'm exhausted from it. And I said, well, first of all, the first problem is you're not supposed to be doing that. She is. She's supposed to be the one home with him, not you. She's supposed to be the one taking care of him. She's supposed to be the one taking care of the child. You're supposed to be out working. That's how that's supposed to work. You got the roles reversed. And you know what he said? She had a dream to be a nurse So I wanted to, I let her fulfill her dream. And now she's going to leave me. Yeah. Do you see how absolutely backwards that is? Former military. Do you see how backwards that is? It is absolutely backwards. It is not the way that God intended it to be. And that's why there's so many problems. I let her fulfill her dreams. Well, her dreams should be being your wife and the mother of your children. That should be her dreams. Her dreams should be fulfilling the will of God as a godly wife and a godly mother. That should be her dreams. She shouldn't be dreaming of anything else. Those should be her dreams. I didn't tell him that because I didn't have time to talk about that. It was like 12:30. The will of God should be your dreams, friend. If the will of God is not your dreams, you have bad dreams. I don't care if they're daydreams or night dreams. They're bad dreams. They are nightmares. Do you see how that's wrong? Do you see how messed up that is and how that's messed his whole family up? He can't even be a man because his wife's out making the paycheck for him. Right? Do you see how messed up that is? Puberty blockers could cause long-term fertility and health issues for boys, study finds. May be permanent. Of course it's permanent. Puberty blockers have been shown to cause long-term fertility problems in boys, according to preprint study from Mayo Clinic. The study, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, analyzed more than 130,000 sperm cells for male children with gender dysphoria. All participants were 17 or younger. The researchers analyzed the testicular cells of boys who had been taking puberty blockers for anywhere from 3 months to 52 months and compared them to cells of a control group which had not been on the blockers. Among them on puberty blockers, the researchers identified mild to severe sex gland atrophy, determining that medications accelerating the aging and function of testicular cells. The findings suggest that puberty blockers' impacts may be permanent, disputing claims that such effects can be reversed. They're destroying them. Additional research from Mayo Clinic has linked testicular microlithiasis to an increased risk of testicular cancer. We provide unprecedented histological evidence revealing detrimental pediatric testicular sex gland responses to puberty blockers. Why? It's the same thing as birth control. The most damnable thing a woman can take is orthotricycline and the like. Orthotricycline is horrible. It has caused breast cancer in more women. I've heard it so often that they get breast cancer from orthotricycline. Later, why? They prevented They prevented pregnancy, changed their hormones around. They also had trouble nursing babies. Because when they turned 14, their mom put them on birth control. God never meant for you to block those things. He meant for you to be abstinent until you're married. God never meant for you to take birth control. He meant for you to be abstinent and holy until you're married. Dr. Mark Siegel, clinical professor of medicine at NYU Langone Medical Center and a Fox News medical contributor, was not involved in the Mayo Clinic research, but commented on the use of puberty blockers. Thousands of U.S. children, more than ever, are experiencing gender dysphoria, and many go on to identify as transgender, Siegel told Fox News Digital. They certainly still face a stigma for this, which needs to be addressed. But at the same time, the growing rush to gender-affirming treatment is disturbing, particularly without parental approval. In 2021, approximately 42,167 children received gender dysphoria diagnosis, almost triple the 15,172 reported in 17, according to Reuters. Why? Because they're programming them. And much of it is politically driven and may lead to premature treatments that are not offered in the UK, Finland, Sweden, or any other country, Siegel said. Leuprolide is a drug they use, or Luprin, which is a type of hormone therapy used for advanced prostate cancer. It also is used to stop early puberty in children. It helps to delay sexual development, such as growth of the breast, testicles, and the start of menstrual periods. It also helps slow down early bone growth to increase the likelihood of reaching normal adult height. They reported 10,000 adverse effects in children, including mood swings, cognitive problems, suicidal thoughts, longer-term fertility problems, seizures, migraines, brittle bones, brain swelling, and vision loss. Transgender individuals are 3 times more likely than the general population to suffer from anxiety, depression, and neurodevelopmental issues. Why? It's not what they're saying. They say it's because people don't accept it. No, it's because you're drugging them, you fools. You bunch of witch doctors. That's why. You're drugging them. You're altering their bodies and their minds. That's why. You're destroying them. Although some studies have shown that interventions such as puberty blockers may decrease anxiety in the short term, Siegel pointed out that there are no long-term head-to-head trials versus extensive therapy and watchful waiting. Puberty blockers typically lead children down a path to long-term use of transgender-affirming hormones such as estrogen and testosterone, he noted. These hormones carry their own risks. For example, estrogen may increase the incidence of breast cancer. Bottom line, I don't believe puberty blockers should be given routinely to children and teens for gender dysphoria, Siegel said. There are too many long-term risks, including the idea that children or teens may change their minds. In the majority of cases, Siegel recommends that any hormonal intervention or gender reassignment surgeries be delayed until an older age. He added, intensive, supportive, and cognitive therapy makes sense as an initial approach. Anyway. The drugs impact the normal function of spermatogeneal stem cells, which are crucial for sperm production and overall reproductive health. But transgender activists don't care. They don't care. The risk goes beyond infertility, the doctor warned. There are also downrange effects of altered hormone levels on brain development, let alone other organ systems. Hormones such as testosterone and progesterone and estrogen are critical for brain development, memory, and cognition. Osborne pointed out. The doctor called for safer and more effective treatments for those with gender dysphoria. Gaining insight into the full impact of these medications, the uses of which was become more prevalent, is crucial for future generations. See, they're destroying these children. They not only are destroying these children, they want to silence you and call it hate speech when you speak out against it. So they're not only destroying them, they're going to silence you. Right? So preachers can't speak out against it. Right? So people can't speak out against it. So family members have to just accept it. Shut their mouth and let them mutilate their children. State-sponsored child abuse. Medical mafia child abuse. State-sponsored child abuse. But see, they're using this transgender issue. So on the same token, here you have Fox News talking about this, right? And saying, that's dangerous for children and for everything. Then you have Fox News having Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner. It's a man. That's not Caitlyn Jenner. That's Bruce Jenner. Talking about OJ. He says, good riddance. Jenner reacted to the death of former NFL running back and accused murderer O.J. Simpson by taking to social media to write good riddance. What is this? It's a psyop. Jenner, who's a dude, tried to turn himself into a woman and claim the moral authority in issues like this because Fox News are a bunch of perverts and this is a psyop. Fox News' gender psyop is right here. The Knight of Malta that owns it. The Olympic star, Bruce Jenner. Right? Is gonna, oh man, he's telling the truth about how bad OJ is. Same thing as the psyop with J.K. Rowling. Here's J.K. Rowling, the writer of witchcraft to children, the producer of movies, The Witchcraft to Children. And she's going to stand up for feminism against transgenderism. And then you have the transgender Jenner, who's going to say how bad of a murderer OJ was. Right? Well, what is this? It's a psyop. Because the tranny is going to give you moral authority. The tranny is going to give you moral authority. Going to claim moral authority and say these other people are really bad. It's a psyop. Fox News is normalizing transgenderism for you. So you accept it. Because after all, OJ's a murderer. All Bruce Jenner is a tranny. Right? Jenner is not the only one to react to Simpson's death in this way. Right? But what is that? It's just a psyop. So all the conservatives that still watch Fox News are watching a tranny give their moral take on things. Isn't that like having a whore teach you about chastity? Wouldn't that be like a whore teaching you about chastity? When Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and Alex Jones have trannies on. When Tucker Carlson interviews a Catholic priest about religious persecution in Israel, which he just did. Does Israel do persecution? Absolutely they do. But do you think it's funny that the king of persecution, Roman Catholicism, the king of persecution, go preach at the Vatican and see how much religious liberty you have. Go preach the gospel at the Vatican. Lift up your voice like a trumpet at the Vatican and see how much religious liberty you have, Tucker. They're all working for the Pope. Just like Fox News under the Knight of Malta, working for the Pope, and all the Jesuits that work, for the entertainment and the news organizations. All of them working for the Pope. All of this agenda, same thing. Out of one side of his mouth, the Pope comes out with this transgender ruling. Out of the other side of his mouth, the hidden secret doctrine is they support it because it's the destruction of people. They run both Marxism and they run fascism. They run both of them. They run both sides of it. And then you got all these people lauding this white basketball girl player, right? Saying how great she is, lifting her up, great model for women. Really? That's a great model for women? Huh. Not a godly one, it ain't. Not a godly one. As they lift her up. Not a biblical example, is it? But it's who they are, right?